turn to Matthew chapter 5. Matthew chapter 5. So we saw last time that wisdom is the principal thing when it comes to the Sermon on the Mount. And what the Lord is going to say, He's going to say, wisdom is the principal thing, therefore get wisdom, and in all thy getting, get understanding. We're going to see Him draw upon the Proverbs at great length, because the Proverbs have a lot to say about wisdom in general in Israel's program, and then in particular this stage in the program, this time of the kingdom of heaven being at hand, and the ministry of the Lord. And we're also seeing that really the entire book of Matthew is itself foundational. So there's a lot of material to cover. So therefore, within this larger foundational book, we're dealing with an especially foundation-filled and packed section here at the beginning of the book, because that's the way it's designed. And that's going to be manifested in the Lord's ministry. So the Lord's beginning to lay down those building blocks for the themes that He's going to pick up on in the rest of His teaching ministry. And He's going to begin to expand upon those details, and we're going to see that in action. He's going to draw time and time again back to these themes. But again, as with any teaching ministry, you first have to lay down that foundation, and you're going to take it from milk to meat, from that babe unto a perfect man. We see that with edification in our program and Paul's ministry to us, and the same is true and was true first in Israel's program. That is the way that God deals with His people and with man. That is edification. So that's what you're going to see manifested throughout the gospel accounts, and here in particular as the Lord begins to lay down the foundations of His teaching ministry. And so we saw that the object is going to be to create in these people now to be prudent, to be wise ones. He's already been out. He's preaching that kingdom of heaven being at hand, to produce that repentance, to open up the eyes so that those that would have eyes to see and ears to hear, that is what that preaching ought to produce. And now that their eyes are open and their ears are open, they're now able to receive that instruction that He's going to give them. So He's preached. He's brought them around. They've come unto Him, and now He's going to begin to teach. He's going to begin to instruct them. He's going to begin to take them from babes unto perfect men, from milk to meat. And that's what we're going to see played out. So Matthew chapter 5 and verse 1. And seeing the multitudes, He went up into a mountain, and when He was set, His disciples came unto Him. And He opened His mouth and taught them, saying, Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are they which do hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. Blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are ye when men shall revile you and persecute you, and shall say all manner of evil against you falsely for my sake. Rejoice and be exceeding glad, for great is your reward in heaven. For so persecuted they the prophets which were before you. Ye are the salt of the earth. But if the salt have lost his savor, wherewith shall it be salted? It is thenceforth good for nothing, but to be cast out and to be trodden under foot of men. Ye are the light of the world. A city that is set on an hill cannot be hid. Neither do men light a candle and put it under a bushel, but on a candlestick, and it giveth light unto all that are in the house. Let your light so shine before men, that they may see your good works, and glorify your Father which is in heaven. So back to verse 6, this is where we began to leave off last time. We began to transition from the circumstances of that poverty, mournful, and meek state, the corruption of the world system that's going to take place, and that was present even at that time, and has been throughout Israel's program, but was going to begin to be manifested in some particular ways in accordance with this coming time of trouble. We began to see this transition now as we're moving from that circumstances issues into the conduct issues, as he now begins to say, blessed are they which do hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. So we're going to see again what that means, what that looks like prophetically from the prophets. And then as he begins to move into, as he's developing these large themes, which are going to be the themes throughout his ministry and his teaching ministry, this issue of persecution and rewards, as he begins to prepare them for the development of the program, he begins to prepare them for his absence. Again, this is just laying the foundation for it, but we're going to begin to see, and we're going to jump ahead a little bit, we're going to begin to see that in action. He's going to get into the details of it. He's going to begin to give them stories and parables which make it very clear he's going away, and it's in connection with the kingdom of heaven, and then he's coming back. And he begins to transition now into these two major themes, and as he does that, this issue of wisdom being paramount is going to take center stage. You're either going to be wise, you're going to be foolish. And the issue is going to be directed towards those that would consider themselves his disciples, those that would consider themselves to be responding to him, to be on board with his ministry, to having had their eyes opened and their ears opened to see and hear what it is he has to teach them. And so that's why, as we sort of indicated last time, or a few times ago, that issue of that justified state before God, that's always been the same throughout Israel's program, the issues of that justification, and that's almost going to be taken for granted. That issue is the same. That issue doesn't change. That issue of the justification status of an individual is going to be taken for granted as the Lord begins to minister to the people. The issue is going to be wise versus foolish, and particularly in connection with those that would be considered his servants. He's preparing now the people within the nation who are going to be taken out. They're going to be called out. They're going to receive a new name. They're going to receive a new identification in connection with him. Those are the ones he's preparing, and he's preparing them for that. Now, of course, that thing is not perfect. There are going to still be unbelievers that are present within that group. There's going to be one even within the Lord's very inner circle of the 12, which is going to turn out to not have been a true believer at all. We're going to find he's one that never actually truly believed that kingdom of heaven. Okay, so there's still going to be those that are present there within that group. But the main issue is going to be for those that would either be wise or foolish servants. And you're going to see that there's a separate group that's out there considered his enemies. There are those who make no pretense about abiding in his words, about hearing what he has to say, about being on board and following him and responding to him in truth and understanding and believing the doctrine that's been declared about him. There are those he declares to be his enemies, and he makes it very clear what he's going to do to them. But then there's that issue of wise and foolish. And again, there's obviously overlap because anything that concerns that foolish one, anyone that's characteristic of the fool, is by default, that's going to be characteristic of the enemy of Christ. It's going to be characteristic of the unbeliever. But it's not exclusive to that. That is, foolishness is foolishness. And a servant can either be wise or he can be foolish. And it's going to come at a cost. And it's particularly going to come at a cost with respect to rewards. So you're going to begin to see this issue of persecution and rewards and this theme begin to be developed more and more. This is going to become the tenor of the Lord's ministry as he begins to separate this little flock, this group, out from the nation and identified with him. Okay, so this issue of blessed are they which do hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. Again, you already have this. You have this parallel as the Scripture in Christ is declaring and teaching this. He's preaching it in a certain way. He's teaching this in a certain way. Blessed are they that for this. Blessed are they that for theirs is this. So this kingdom of heaven is clearly the issue. Kingdom of heaven, inherit the earth, the obtaining of that mercy, all of that. And that issue of being filled is in connection just with that. It's in connection with that righteousness, and that righteousness is the kingdom of heaven. It is everything that has been spoken about what is going to take place in connection with that kingdom. That is the desire of the heart of the faithful. Come back to Psalm 45. And again, hopefully we get through all these passages I want to get through. Psalm 45. And so hopefully you're going to begin to see this more and more, that we're not going to have to expand on a lot of this because you're going to see these connections develop more and more and more. And you're going to see that each one of these passages is related. And you're going to see just how resonant this truth is in the heart and mind and soul of the Lord. It shouldn't be a great surprise, but you need to understand that is the way it's working out practically. Because he is one who has grown in wisdom himself. The Scriptures are very clear about that. He is one who has been a true faithful son. The incarnation was a very unique thing that took place. And in connection with that, the Lord grew in wisdom and in understanding and in stature. And he is a true Bible believer. He is not just God in the flesh. He's a Bible believer. And he is the model of the Bible believer. He is one in whom the Father is well pleased. He is one that makes the Father proud to call him his son. Psalm 45, starting verse 1. My heart is inditing a good matter. I speak of the things which I have made touching the king. My tongue is the pen of a ready writer. Thou art fairer than the children of men. Grace is poured into thy lips. Therefore God hath blessed thee forever. And of course that's always where Israel's blessing was to be found. The blessing was to be found in him, in Christ, in the Lord. And so he's going to make it very clear that blessed are those that are going to be in him, because he's the one who himself is blessed. He is the one who has the right to take and fulfill and bring the blessings of the kingdom. So they're going to be able to be blessed because he is the one who's going to have the right to bless them. And the end result of all of that, ultimately, as the Psalms make very clear, is not that everyone would say, well, God bless you, and God bless this, and God bless that. No, the object, ultimately, in connection with God's glory, is for man to bless God, for man to speak well of Him, and exalt Him and praise Him. So we always talk about God bless us, and God bless this, and God. The issue is bless God, and that's what's going to happen. Verse 3, gird thy sword upon thy thigh, O most mighty, with thy glory and thy majesty. And in thy majesty ride prosperously, because of truth and meekness and righteousness. And thy right hand shall teach thee terrible things. Thine arrows are sharp in the heart of the king's enemies, whereby the people fall under thee. Thy throne, O God, the kingdom of heaven, is forever and ever. The scepter of thy kingdom is a right scepter. And we're going to go over to Hebrews to see the parallel which expands on that. Verse 7, thou lovest righteousness and hatest wickedness. Therefore God, thy God, hath anointed thee with the oil of gladness above thy fellows. Okay, come over to Hebrews. Keep your hand over there in Psalms and come over to Hebrews chapter 1 very quickly. Hebrews chapter 1. Again, the issue in all of this is that wisdom is the principal thing. And all these specifics that the Lord is detailing, they're simply the detailed specific manifestations of wisdom. Wisdom applied. What the wise one is going to look like. Hebrews chapter 1 and verse 8. But unto the Son he saith, thy throne, O God, is forever and ever. A scepter of righteousness is the scepter of thy kingdom. You understand that issue of the scepter, the hallmark, the symbol, the moniker, and the standard of his rule, of his reign, of what his kingdom is going to be. That is fundamentally what it is. It's what men seek for in various ways, various inferior ways, and various perverse ways today. Because, of course, if the heart of man is desperately wicked, deceitful above all things, so he's going to call evil good and good evil, in his mind he's going to seek after righteousness, and oftentimes there's going to be wickedness. And he's going to fight very hard for his rights. It's interesting that they'd be called rights when they're wrongs. That's how perverted man is. You think that's just a way that, that's just a happenstance of the language. No, it isn't. There's something going on there. That thing is just embedded in the fabric of life in the universe. Come back over to the Psalms. Psalm 85. Psalm 85. Same thing, they call them alternative lifestyles, and they're not. They're alternative death styles. But righteousness is his scepter. It's a scepter. It's a right scepter, a scepter of righteousness. And you keep seeing these constant themes coming up, so now it's no surprise when the Lord comes on the scene and begins to say these things that he's saying in his teaching ministry about who's going to be blessed in connection with the kingdom of heaven being at hand. This is exactly what you should expect if you've been reading the law and the prophets and know the doctrine of the Christ and what it means when he shows up. Psalm 85 and... we'll start in verse 1. Lord, thou hast been favorable unto thy land. Thou hast brought back the captivity of Jacob. Thou hast forgiven the iniquity of thy people. Thou hast covered all their sins. Selah. Thou hast taken away all thy wrath. Thou hast turned thyself from the fierceness of thine anger. Turn us, O God of our salvation, and cause thine anger toward us to cease. Wilt thou be angry with us forever? Wilt thou draw out thine anger to all generations? Wilt thou not revive us again, that thy people may rejoice in thee? Show us thy mercy, O Lord, and grant us thy salvation. I will hear what God the Lord will speak, for he will speak peace unto his people. I'm going to read about blessed are the peacemakers. And to his saints, but let them not turn again to folly. That's the fool. Surely his salvation is nigh them that fear him, that glory may dwell in our land. Mercy and truth are met together. Righteousness and peace have kissed each other. Truth shall spring out of the earth, and righteousness shall look down from heaven. Yea, the Lord shall give that which is good, and our land shall yield her increase. Righteousness shall go before him, and shall set us in the way of his steps. Come over to Psalm 72. Psalm 72. Psalm 72. And start in verse 1. Give the king thy judgments, O God, and thy righteousness unto the king's son. He shall judge thy people with righteousness, and thy poor with judgment. The mountains shall bring peace to the people, and the little hills by righteousness. He shall judge the poor of the people. He shall save the children of the needy, and shall break in pieces the oppressor. Come over to Psalm 96. Psalm 96. And again, this is just a smattering of the passages that touch on this, because the whole book is about this issue of that righteousness. Psalm 96, particularly the Psalms, obviously, we've talked about that before, the relationship of the Psalms to the issues of the Davidic covenant. Psalm 96, in verse 10, Say among the heathen that the Lord reigneth. The world also shall be established, that it shall not be moved. He shall judge the people righteously. Let the heavens rejoice, and let the earth be glad. Let the sea roar, and the fullness thereof. Let the field be joyful, and all that is therein. Then shall all the trees of the wood rejoice before the Lord, for he cometh to judge the earth. He shall judge the world with righteousness, and the people with his truth. Come over to Jeremiah. Jeremiah 23. Jeremiah 23. Jeremiah 23, and of course, he here has been talking about the woe be unto the pastors. Lord himself is going to use that exact language later on in the Gospel of Matthew when he declares some woes upon them. But then verse 3, And I will gather the remnant of my flock out of all countries whither I have driven them, and will bring them again to their folds, and they shall be fruitful and increase. And I will set up shepherds over them, which shall feed them, and they shall fear no more, nor be dismayed, neither shall they be lacking, saith the Lord. Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that I will raise unto David a righteous branch, and a king shall reign and prosper, and shall execute judgment and justice in the earth. In his days Judah shall be saved, and Israel shall dwell safely. And this is his name whereby he shall be called, the Lord our righteousness. And of course that's one of the compound Jehovah names of God, and that's some of the things that are going to get fulfilled in connection with the feasts of Israel. Come over to Jeremiah 33. Jeremiah 33. Jeremiah 33, and again a parallel passage, but changes it a little bit as we've seen before. But again, this issue of the hallmark symbol and issue of righteousness. Jeremiah 33 and verse 14. Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that I will perform that good thing which I have promised unto the house of Israel and to the house of Judah. Behold, the kingdom of heaven is at hand. In those days and at that time will I cause the branch of righteousness to grow up unto David, and he shall execute judgment and righteousness in the land. In those days shall Judah be saved, and Jerusalem shall dwell safely, and this is the name wherewith she shall be called, the Lord our righteousness. So those that are going to get that blessing is because they're going to be in the one who is himself blessed. Come over to Daniel chapter 9. Daniel chapter 9. Daniel chapter 9. Blessed are they that hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. They're going to get it, and they're going to see it. Daniel chapter 9 and verse 24. Daniel chapter 9 and verse 24. 70 weeks are determined upon thy people and upon thy holy city, to finish the transgression, and to make an end of sins, and to make reconciliation for iniquity, and to bring in everlasting righteousness, and to seal up the vision and prophecy, and to anoint the most holy. And of course, in this very context, in the next few verses, the Lord himself is going to talk about how he's come not to destroy the law and prophets, but to fulfill them. And it's in connection with bringing in that everlasting righteousness. Come over to Isaiah. Isaiah 56. Isaiah 56. You're all doing pretty good. You're getting to these passages and references pretty quickly, I can tell. That's a good thing. Isaiah 56, starting verse 1. Thus saith the Lord, keep ye judgment, and do justice, for my salvation is near to come, and my righteousness to be revealed. Blessed is the man that doeth this, and the Son of Man that layeth hold on it, that keepeth the Sabbath from polluting it, and keepeth his hand from doing any evil. And come over to Isaiah 61. Isaiah 61. You'll have to forgive my excessive throat clearing. I do a fair amount of it anyway, but I've been overcoming a cold that was trying to get a foothold, and I'm just about over it, but I'm feeling the remnants of it, so I apologize if it's offensive to the ear. Isaiah 61, and we'll go to verse. We'll start in verse 9. This, of course, is one of the hallmark passages when it comes to that issue of the Lord preaching that gospel of the kingdom, as you've had in verse 1 and 2 and 3. We've seen that verse many times. But in verse 9, and their seed shall be known among the Gentiles, and their offspring among the people. All that see them shall acknowledge them, that they are the seed which the Lord hath blessed. I will greatly rejoice in the Lord. My soul shall be joyful in my God. For he hath clothed me with the garments of salvation. He hath covered me with the robe of righteousness. As a bridegroom decketh himself with ornaments, and as a bride adorneth herself with her jewels. For as the earth bringeth forth her bud, and as the garden causeth the things that are sown in it to spring forth, so the Lord God will cause righteousness and praise to spring forth before all the nations. And it's not going to seem like that when they're going through that time of trouble, as he's already preparing them for it. They're going to want to do anything but be joyful and sing and rejoice. But as he's already told them, know the certainty of the words of truth. The things are certain. The interpretation thereof is sure. The kingdom is yours. You will be filled. Just wait on me and trust in me, and you will see my deliverance. Come over to 2 Peter. 2 Peter. And again, we'll only be popping in here and there throughout those circumcision epistles because obviously it's beyond the point where we're at edification-wise in Israel's program. It assumes that foundation already. It assumes that you've already been through that whole part of the curriculum, and then it's expanding on it. But not surprisingly, what you're going to see in those circumcision epistles is precisely as the Lord himself is going to begin to expand on the details he's setting forth, you're going to see the circumcision epistles come along and expand on all the details that were begin to be set forth by the Lord in his earthly ministry. So they're going to do that very thing because that's what's been presented before them. And their role, the circumcision epistles and their writers in particular, their role is to take those things and reference back to those things and then put them into practice and apply them as the remnant is going through that time of trouble. So I told you 2 Peter chapter 2. Make that chapter 3. 2 Peter chapter 3. And we'll start in verse 10. But the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, in the which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. The earth also and the works that are therein shall be burned up. Seeing then that all these things shall be dissolved, what manner of persons ought ye to be in all holy conversation and godliness, looking for and hastening unto the coming of the day of God, wherein the heavens being on fire shall be dissolved, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. Nevertheless, we, according to his promise, look for new heavens and a new earth, wherein dwelleth righteousness. All right? So, back to Matthew chapter 5. Blessed are they which do hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. However, before they're filled, they're going to evoke a certain response. And that's what you're going to begin to read about now and what the Lord is going to expand on greater and greater and greater detail. That issue of persecution. That issue of persecution and then the issue of those rewards. So they're hungering and thirsting after righteousness, and their faithfulness to that is going to evoke a certain response on those within the nation and outside of it. Because there's going to be a certain spirit of Antichrist and an actual Antichrist. And even many Antichrists. Verse 7, blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Come back to Psalm 41. Psalm 41. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. And again, a lot of these themes are all building on one another. So as we go to these verses, you're going to constantly see that issue of the poor coming up, and that issue of not having a certain spirit. Makes it very clear that those who are given to envy and covetousness in the face of that persecution and their poverty and the prosperity of the wicked and the deals that are going to attempt to be made with them, that path is destruction for them. But it's going to be very tempting to have a certain spirit in the midst of all that, one that is not demonstrating meekness and humility and a controlled dedication to the Word of God, and knowing the certainty of it and having full assurance in the midst of all those circumstances. Psalm 41 and start in verse 1. Blessed is he that considereth the poor. The Lord will deliver him in time of trouble. And again, as the Lord begins to expand on the details of what he's setting forth here, you're going to get out there towards Matthew 24 and 25, and he's going to begin to say to those that basically blessed his brethren, you fed me when I was hungry, you gave me to drink when I was thirsty, you clothed me, you visited me when I was in prison. Whenever you did it unto the least of these, my brethren, you did it unto me. Enter into the kingdom, therefore, prepared for you from the foundation of the world. Blessed is he that considereth the poor. The Lord will deliver him in time of trouble. The Lord will, verse 2, the Lord will preserve him and keep him alive, and he shall be blessed upon the earth. And thou wilt not deliver him unto the will of his enemies. The Lord will strengthen him upon the bed of languishing. Thou wilt make all his bed in his sickness. I said, Lord, be merciful unto me. Heal my soul, for I have sinned against thee. My enemies speak evil of me. When shall he die, and his name perish? And it goes on, and there's a lot of specific applications with respect to some things that are going to be taking place at that time, and we don't need to get into all of that right now, because you've got all different types of people that are going to be dealt with out at that time. You're going to have people who do not respond initially to the ministry of the Lord positively, but will end up responding positively more and more later. And in fact, the Lord's even going to tell some of them, he's going to throw them for a loop as he gets later on in his ministry. He's going to say there's people who haven't come yet. Basically, he says there's people who haven't come yet, and they're going to come into the picture later, and they may end up getting more than you do because of what it meant for where they were in the program and because of their faithfulness and what it meant. And that's going to blow some people. They're going to say, that's not fair, that's not right. And he's going to say, tough toenails. Come over to Psalm 57. That's an updated version. It's not in the original, but if you have the right lexicon, you can find it somewhere. Psalm 57. I mean, it's a satanic lexicon, but you'll find it nevertheless. Psalm 57. Psalm 57 in verse 1. Be merciful unto me, O God. Be merciful unto me. And the issue, as the Lord's going to continue to say this as well, he's going to develop this theme. He's going to say, be like your Father. This is the way your Father is, therefore be this way. If you would be called children of God, if you're going to be children, that means being like your Father. This is the way He is. This is what you've been crying out for. And if you have this spirit, it's because you recognize certain things with respect to Him, and therefore these are the things that ought to be manifested. Again, this is a detail which is going to be dealt with very explicitly when the Lord starts to give certain stories and parables. And He's going to have some harsh words for those servants who were not as forgiving, who were forgiven greatly, who were shown great mercy, but were not merciful themselves. He's going to have some pretty harsh words for those folks. They're not going to be partakers of certain things with respect to the degree of blessedness that there is. They'll be considered least, not greatest. Be merciful unto me, O God, be merciful unto me, for my soul trusteth in thee. Yea, in the shadow of thy wings will I make my refuge, until these calamities be overpast. I will cry unto God most high, unto God that performeth all things for me. He shall send from heaven and save me from the reproach of him that would swallow me up. Selah. God shall send forth His mercy and His truth. Come over to Proverbs 14. Proverbs 14. Proverbs 14. Again, throughout Proverbs, you'll constantly see that issue of wisdom and rewards joined. It talks about wisdom being more valuable than certain things. It talks about wisdom being a crown. And that's what the Lord's beginning to talk about. That wisdom was going to be in a crown for certain people. It's going to mean treasure for certain people. We're going to pick up on those things in the verses that follow. He's going to talk about them storing up their treasure somewhere. And there's a reason why he's going to say that. And it's in connection with wisdom. Proverbs 14, verse 1. And remember, that prudent man, as we've already seen, that prudent man foreseeth the evil and hideth himself. Proverbs 14, verse 1. Every wise woman buildeth her house, but the foolish plucketh it down with her hands. He that walketh in his uprightness feareth the Lord, but he that is perverse in his ways despiseth him. In the mouth of the foolish is a rod of pride, but the lips of the wise shall preserve them. And this is interesting. You have the reverse here, and you're seeing in the Sermon on the Mount, you're seeing the positive talked about and the negative implied. If he says, "Blessed are these folks," there's an implicit opposite. There's an opposite to that humility. There's an opposite to that meekness. There's an opposite to that mournfulness. Well, here it's the reverse. He's going to talk about that negative, that pride. There's an opposite to that, and it's the blessed state. Verse 4, where no oxen are, the crib is clean, but much increase is by the strength of the ox. A faithful witness will not lie, but a false witness will utter lies. This is going to become very relevant in the time of trouble in particular. A scorner seeketh wisdom, and findeth it not. But knowledge is easy unto him that understandeth. Go from the presence of a foolish man, when thou perceivest not in him the lips of knowledge. The wisdom of the prudent is to understand his way, but the folly of fools is deceit. Fools make a mock at sin, but among the righteous there is favor. The heart knoweth his own bitterness, and a stranger doth not intermeddle with his joy. The house of the wicked shall be overthrown, but the tabernacle of the upright shall flourish. There is a way which seemeth right unto a man, but the end thereof are the ways of death. That's what the Lord's beginning to talk about. He's beginning to point them to that end, and the issue of that end. And where there is no vision, the people perish. Even in laughter the heart is sorrowful, and the end of that mirth is heaviness. The backslider in heart shall be filled with his own ways, and a good man shall be satisfied from himself. The simple believeth every word, but the prudent man looketh well to his going. And again, at this point throughout Proverbs, you're going to see these themes develop. Proverbs does this very same thing. You had certain things set forth in the beginning of this book, and just if you just come back very briefly, keep your hand in Proverbs 14. Just come back to Proverbs chapter 1. Because you there had the tenor of that book and the issues that were being set forth there. And then everything else is just developing upon that. So the simple one, the foolish ones, the scornful and mocking ones, they were all identified from back here. And then the issue keeps getting developed further and further. In Proverbs chapter 1 and verse 20, wisdom crieth without. She uttereth her voice in the streets. She crieth in the chief place of concourse, in the openings of the gates. In the city she uttereth her words, saying, How long, ye simple ones, will ye love simplicity? And the scorners delight in their scorning, and fools hate knowledge. Turn you at my reproof. Behold, I will pour out my spirit unto you. I will make known my words unto you. Because I have called, and ye refused, I have stretched out my hand, and no man regarded. But ye have set at naught all my counsel, and would none of my reproof. I also will laugh at your calamity. I will mock when your fear cometh. When your fear cometh as desolation, and your destruction cometh as a whirlwind, when distress and anguish cometh upon you. Then shall they call upon me, but I will not answer. They shall seek me early, but they shall not find me. And the Lord's warning them right now, don't be counted with them. You're going to find yourself in that time. Seek him now. Seek after righteousness. Thirst and hunger for this now. Abide in my words now, because there's going to reach a time when that's too late. And you're going to be out. The time's going to come where you're going to say, Noah led us on that ark. And you're going to say, sorry, it's too late. That door's already been sealed up. And then the rain's going to fall. When your fear cometh as desolation, and your destruction cometh as a whirlwind, when distress and anguish cometh upon you. Verse 28, Then shall they call upon me, but I will not answer. They shall seek me early, but they shall not find me. For that they hated knowledge, and did not choose the fear of the Lord. They chose another fear. They actually were fearing man. And the Lord's going to talk about that. He says, don't fear what man can do to you. Therefore shall they eat the fruit of their own way, and be filled with their own devices. For the turning away of the simple shall slay them, and the prosperity of fools shall destroy them. But whoso hearkeneth unto me shall dwell safely, and shall be quiet from fear of evil. So he's then going to go on and talk about the poor and all these issues more and more throughout the Proverbs. So back to Proverbs 14. Proverbs chapter 14 and verse 15. The simple believeth every word, but the prudent man looketh well to his going. And again, that's what he's doing now. He's giving those that have responded the opportunity to have, with those with open eyes and ears, to receive the words of truth, to get the tools of wisdom and understanding, so that they would be considered prudent, and they'll foresee the evil, and their steps will be ordered properly and directed properly. Verse 16, a wise man feareth and departeth from evil, but the fool rageth and is confident. He that is soon angry dealeth foolishly, and a man of wicked devices is hated. And the Lord's going to warn them about having that spirit, and this is going to start to get to the heart of the issue, which is what the Lord's going to focus on. That other stuff that's going to follow, just like this blessedness is the manifestation of wisdom, all these different things that the Lord's talking about. There's these extreme manifestations of this wickedness. It's going to take murder and a lot of this other stuff, but all that starts somewhere. It has its origin somewhere. It starts somewhere else. It starts in the heart, and it develops and it festers and it grows and it begins to have manifestations, and it gets further and further out there and more extreme. But it starts somewhere, and the Lord warns them about that because it's going to have some deadly consequences out there in that time. Verse 18, the simple inherit folly. So, again, just like the Lord's going to be talking about the inheritance there is for the blessing, for the blessed. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Well, these folks are going to get another inheritance. The simple shall inherit folly, but the prudent are crowned with knowledge. And again, that has some rewards implications as well. Verse 19, the evil bow before the good, and the wicked at the gates of the righteous, eventually. The poor is hated even of his own neighbor, but the rich hath many friends. He that despiseth his neighbor sinneth, but he that hath mercy on the poor, happy is he. Again, blessed is that happiness. Do they not err that devise evil? But mercy and truth shall be to them that devise good. In all labor there is profit, but the talk of the lips tendeth only to penury. The crown of the wise is their riches, but the foolishness of fools is folly. A true witness delivereth souls, but a deceitful witness speaketh lies. And there's reasons why they do that. That's the hallmark of the corruption that there is today in politics and everywhere else. Because men do that. They lie to ingratiate themselves, to accumulate, to get advantage, to accumulate positions and wealth, to obtain positions of privilege and honor. And so they lie. They'll just lie. They won't confront with the truth, because that's not profitable. And that the same is true. The same is true spoken through Paul. He's going to tell you flat out, love rejoiceth not in iniquity, but rejoiceth in the truth. Am I therefore become your enemy because I speak the truth? Men have a serious problem with that. But being deceitful, being a deceitful witness and not delivering souls has always been an easy way out and a road to prosperity, and it continues to this day. Verse 26, in the fear of the Lord is strong confidence, and his children shall have a place of refuge. That's the other thing. The interesting thing is that while there's something which characterizes the spirit of godliness, which is that meekness and humility and mournfulness. Remember, we said that's not a pansy, weak type of thing. That's a controlled thing. And while that is characterizing it, there's also something else which characterizes it, which is a confidence, which is a boldness. Again, it's that issue of knowing the certainty of the words of truth. There's that expectation, not just in a willy-nilly hope type sense, but in a confident expectation. And the Word of God, knowing the certainty of the words of truth, produces that in those that would be godly. And that always rubs the world the wrong way. It rubs them the wrong way. But it's funny, that's going to cohabitate with that meekness and that mournfulness and that humility, that confidence and that boldness. And the Lord's going to, and they're going to notice that when the Lord is done with his whole teaching here in the Sermon on the Mount, the end of it's going to say they were astonished at his doctrine, for he spoke as one with authority. That's always what happens when people declare the Word of God and they know the certainty of the words of truth. But as we said, that presupposes things about the preservation of the words you have before you. Otherwise, you don't have certainty concerning those words of truth. Verse 27, the fear of the Lord is a fountain of life, to depart from the snares of death. In the multitude of people is the king's honor, but in the want of people is the destruction of the prince. He that is slow to wrath is of great understanding, but he that is hasty of spirit exalteth folly. A sound heart is the life of the flesh, and out of it are the issues of life. But envy, the rottenness of the bones. He that oppresseth the poor reproacheth his maker, but he that honoreth him hath mercy on the poor. The wicked is driven away in his wickedness, but the righteous hath hope in his death. Wisdom resteth in the heart of him that hath understanding, but that which is in the midst of fools is made known. Righteousness exalteth a nation, but sin is a reproach to any people. The king's favor is toward a wise servant, but his wrath is against him that causeth shame. Come over to Proverbs 28. Proverbs 28. I tell you, there's just so much sitting in the Proverbs. You have some time, just go through it and really meditate on it. And there's so many layers of meaning and depth in them. Just on the surface, and not to mention some of the deeper things that are sitting in there. Proverbs 28. Myron, what time we have? Okay. Proverbs 28. And, verse 1. The wicked flee when no man pursueth, but the righteous are bold as a lion. For the transgression of a land many are the princes thereof, but a man of understanding and knowledge, the state thereof shall be prolonged. A poor man that oppresseth the poor is like a sweeping rain which leaveth no food. They that forsake the law praise the wicked, but such as keep the law contend with them. Remember we talked about that before, those that the faithful witness delivers souls, but that evil one, that wicked one, he's going to deceive with lies. He won't speak the truth. Even when he knows it, he won't speak it. And that's wicked. That's wicked because it doesn't show any kind of love. You care for somebody, you truly love somebody, you're going to seek to deliver them. And the certainty of the words, they are certain, both on the positive side and on the negative. And the negative has a lot of horrible things to declare. Verse 5, evil men understand not judgment. And boy, has that ever characterized this age. But they that seek the Lord understand all things. And that's exactly what the Lord's going to tell them to seek there on the Sermon on the Mount. Better is the poor that walketh in his uprightness than he that is perverse in his ways, though he be rich. Isn't it strange? You keep seeing this issue come up again and again and again all throughout Proverbs. Let you know there's more going on in Proverbs than meets the eye. Verse 7, whoso keepeth the law is a wise son, but he that is a companion of riotous men shameth his father. He that by usury and unjust gain increaseth his substance, he shall gather it for him that will pity the poor. He that turneth away his ear from hearing the law, even his prayer shall be abomination. Whoso causeth the righteous to go astray in an evil way, he shall fall himself into his own pit. But the upright shall have good things in possession. The rich man is wise in his own conceit, but the poor that hath understanding searcheth him out. When righteous men do rejoice, there is great glory. But when the wicked rise, a man is hidden. So it gives you a little insight into why he's going to tell them to hide. He already told them, prudent is the prudent man foreseeth the evil and hideth himself. Verse 13, he that covereth his sins shall not prosper, but whoso confesseth and forsaketh them shall have mercy. Happy is the man that feareth always, but he that hardeneth his heart shall fall into mischief. As a roaring lion and a raging bear, so is a wicked ruler over the poor people. And, of course, you're going to encounter those characters in Daniel and Hosea and in Revelation as well. The lion and bear, you're also going to encounter a leopard. Verse 16, the prince that wanteth understanding is also a great oppressor, but he that hateth covetousness shall prolong his days. A man that doeth violence to the blood of any person shall flee to the pit. Let no man stay him. Whoso walketh uprightly shall be saved, but he that is perverse in his ways shall fall at once. He that tilleth his land shall have plenty of bread, but he that followeth after vain persons shall have poverty enough. A faithful man shall abound with blessings, but he that maketh haste to be rich shall not be innocent. To have respect of persons is not good, for a piece of bread that man will transgress. He that hasteth to be rich hath an evil eye. We're going to encounter that. The Lord's going to bring that up in the Sermon on the Mount later on, the next couple of chapters. And considereth not that poverty shall come upon him. He that rebuketh a man afterward shall find more favor than he that flattereth with the tongue. Whoso robbeth his father or his mother, and saith, It is no transgression, the same is the companion of a destroyer. He that is of a proud heart stirreth up strife, but he that putteth his trust in the Lord shall be made fat. He that trusteth in his own heart is a fool, but whoso walketh wisely, he shall be delivered. He that giveth unto the poor shall not lack, but he that hideth his eyes shall have many a curse. When the wicked rise, men hide themselves. There it is again. But when they perish, the righteous increase. And, my goodness, you can go on. We're not going to read it. You can read Proverbs 29 again, and that's expanding on what was just said here, and it's got a lot of relevant things to say. All right, come back to Matthew chapter 5. Matthew chapter 5. Also get a hand in Psalm 24. Psalm 24. Let's try to shoot through some of this. Matthew 5. So that's verse 7. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Verse 8. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. And again, these are just the summations of all the doctrines sitting back there. So blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Come to Psalm 24. Psalm 24 and verse 1. The earth is the Lord's, and the fullness thereof, the world and they that dwell therein. For he hath founded it upon the seas, and established it upon the floods. Who shall ascend into the hill of the Lord? Or who shall stand in his holy place? He that hath clean hands and a pure heart, who hath not lifted up his soul unto vanity, nor sworn deceitfully. He shall receive the blessing from the Lord, and righteousness from the God of his salvation. This is the generation of them that seek him, that seek thy face, O Jacob. Selah. Come over to Psalm 15. Psalm 15. Psalm 15 and verse 1. Lord, who shall abide in thy tabernacle? Who shall dwell in thy holy hill? He that walketh uprightly, and worketh righteousness, and speaketh the truth in his heart. And again, the Lord, as he's laid out these issues, he's going to begin to expand on the issue of pure in heart as he continues on through the Sermon on the Mount. Come over to Isaiah. Isaiah 33. Isaiah 33. Isaiah 33, verse 5. Isaiah 33 and verse 5. The Lord is exalted, for he dwelleth on high. He hath filled Zion with judgment and righteousness. And they're going to be filled. And wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times, and strength of salvation. The fear of the Lord is his treasure. Behold, their valiant ones shall cry without. The ambassadors of peace shall weep bitterly. The highways lie waste. The wayfaring man ceaseth. He hath broken the covenant. He hath despised the cities. He regardeth no man. The earth mourneth and languisheth. Lebanon is ashamed and hewn down. Sharon is like a wilderness, and Bashan and Carmel shake off their fruits. Now will I rise, saith the Lord. Now will I be exalted. Now will I lift up myself. Ye shall conceive chaff. Ye shall bring forth stubble. Your breath as fire shall devour you. And the people shall be as the burnings of lime. As thorns cut up shall they be burned in the fire. Hear, ye that are far off, what I have done, and ye that are near acknowledge my might. The sinners in Zion are afraid. Fearfulness hath surprised the hypocrites. Who among us shall dwell with the devouring fire? Who among us shall dwell with everlasting burnings? He that walketh righteously, and speaketh uprightly, he that despiseth the gain of oppressions, that shaketh his hands from holding of bribes, that stoppeth his ears from hearing of blood, and shutteth his eyes from seeing evil. He shall dwell on high. His place of defense shall be the munitions of rocks. Bread shall be given him. His water shall be sure. Thine eyes shall see the King in his beauty. They shall behold the land that is very far off. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Come over to Hebrews chapter 9. Hebrews chapter 9. Hebrews chapter 9. And as we're going to expand on, we get a few verses later, not tonight, but we're going to see that this issue of seeing him is in connection with him having gone and then coming back. Again, that's what he's beginning to prepare them for now. He's just laying the groundwork for it, but he's going to begin to expand upon that issue of his absence. Hebrews chapter 9 and verse, we'll start in verse 26. For then must he often have suffered since the foundation of the world. But now, once, in the end of the world, hath he appeared to put away sin by the sacrifice of himself. And as it is appointed unto men once to die, but after this the judgment, so Christ was once offered to bear the sins of many, and unto them that look for him shall he appear the second time without sin unto salvation. They are going to see the King in his beauty, and that's in connection with his kingdom. Come over to 1 John. 1 John in chapter 2. 1 John chapter 2. And again, you're going to see that same pattern throughout the circumcision epistles. You're going to see certain things laid out in Hebrews, and then you're going to begin to see them expanded on as well. They're not only picking up from the things that were sitting back there in the law and the prophets and the Lord's earthly ministry, they're then going to begin to expand within the circumcision epistles themselves. And you'll see certain themes developed. This is one of them. 1 John chapter 2, verse 28. And now, little children, and we've already seen that issue of that children issue in connection with wisdom and edification. And now, little children, abide in him, that, when he shall appear, we may have confidence, and not be ashamed before him at his coming. If ye know that he is righteous, ye know that everyone that doeth righteousness is born of him. Come over to 1 John chapter 3. Chapter 3 and verse 1. Behold, what manner of love the Father hath bestowed upon us, that we should be called the sons of God. Therefore the world knoweth us not, because it knew him not. Beloved, now are we the sons of God, and it doth not yet appear what we shall be. But we know that, when he shall appear, we shall be like him, for we shall see him as he is. And every man that hath this hope in him purifieth himself, even as he is pure. Myron, where are we at? 53. Oh, we've got some time if we race. Okay, it's back to Matthew chapter 5. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. They're going to see the King, and they're going to see him in his beauty. For the kingdom of heaven is theirs. They shall inherit the earth. Their hunger and thirst for righteousness is going to be filled. They are going to receive that mercy. Verse 9. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. You already had a hand in Hebrews. You probably left there, but I know I did. But come back to Hebrews chapter 12. Hebrews chapter 12. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. Hebrews chapter 12. Hebrews chapter 12 and verse 12. Wherefore lift up the hands which hang down, and the feeble knees, and make straight paths for your feet, lest that which is lame be turned out of the way, but let it rather be healed. Follow peace with all men, and holiness, without which no man shall see the Lord, looking diligently lest any man fail of the grace of God, lest any root of bitterness springing up trouble you, and thereby many be defiled. Lest there be any fornicator or profane person, as Esau, who for one morsel of meat sold his birthright. For you know how that afterward, when he would have inherited the blessing, he was rejected, for he found no place of repentance, though he sought it carefully with tears. Come over to Isaiah. Isaiah 52. Isaiah 52. Blessed are the peacemakers. Isaiah 52. Isaiah 52. And we'll start in verse 7. How beautiful upon the mountains are the feet of him that bringeth good tidings, that publisheth peace, that bringeth good tidings of good, that publisheth salvation, that saith unto Zion, Thy God reigneth. Those are the peacemakers. Come over to Psalm 93. Psalm 93. Again, it's already been made very clear. They're being peacemakers, and they're bringing in peace is not going to have to do with any kind of postmillennial laboring. Far from it. It's going to have to do with being some preachers and teachers of certain things, just as Christ is doing, and knowing the certainty of the words of truth. That just as all those other parallels of theirs is the kingdom of heaven, they shall be comforted, they shall inherit the earth, they shall be filled, all of those things. The issue is those peacemakers. That is the issue of where that peace is to be found. That is the peace of the kingdom of heaven. And they're going to face some mighty contentions over confronting the people with that and the answer. You see this, and it's very true, but you see this, it's almost become kind of campy and kitsch. But they're true words nevertheless. You've seen some of these bumper stickers that say, no Jesus, no peace, K-N-O-W, and they, no Jesus, no peace, N-O. And that's true. It's campy nowadays because you see it so much, but the truer words were never said. That's what's going to be confronting that world out there, because remember, that's what he's preparing them for. Part of that faithfulness is them going out there and preaching that gospel of the kingdom. And he's going to say, as he begins to expand on the details of this, you get over there into Matthew chapter 24, he says, this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness, and then shall the end come. They're talking about that peace that's coming and how it's going to be established. But my goodness, look at how the world responds to it even now. And they're barely being confronted with it. And they're barely being confronted with it in a very straightforward manner. But they have some things to say about it. Well, you can imagine what it's going to be like in that time. Because when God is particularly active, so is the enemy. And he's going to be given powers that he normally would not have. Prophecy makes that very clear. What did I tell you? Psalm 93. Psalm 93. Psalm 93. And well, that might be a scribal error. Come over to Psalm 96. Hope so. I hope I didn't get myself all mixed up. I want to skip that. All right, come back over to Matthew 5. We're almost done anyway. So let's move into this persecution here and the response to their conduct, the response to their seeking after that righteousness and being those peacemakers. Matthew chapter 5. Yeah, there's a few other passages, but that's going to expand on some other things I want to talk about, so we'll wait on that. Matthew chapter 5. So he said in verse 9, Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God, and they're like their Father. Verse 10, Blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. So you have that you've come full circle, if you will. You started off with that issue of blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. you went through this little list here, and now you've come back to that issue as it closes it out and is going to begin to move on into that issue of the persecution and rewards issue. But blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sake. And that's key. This is not the issue of being persecuted because you're an idiot, and being persecuted because you said something stupid, and being persecuted because you went out of your way to make a complete idiot of yourself. This is the issue of being persecuted for righteousness' sake, in connection with laboring and being hungering and thirsting after righteousness, in the issue of being that peacemaker. In all the issues of being that wise servant is going to evoke a certain response. And that's what the issue is. Just as he's already said, and there's numerous passages which we've not yet looked at, which we will probably next time, that issue of as he prepares them to receive that new name, his servants, he said, we're going to get a new name. And the other ones were not going to receive that name. They were not going to be identified with him. They were not going to receive all that blessedness that was going to come in connection with receiving that name. But in connection with that name, there's a moniker and a response that is affected here. If you come over to Luke 6 and 1 Peter 4, and we'll close with this for now. Luke chapter 6 and 1 Peter chapter 4. And he'll say this several times. This is not simply the issue of, again, just blessed are they which are persecuted, as if that were it. Lots of people who are persecuted, lots of people who should be persecuted. They're not being persecuted for righteousness' sake. So there's no special blessing in connection with that. But there is in connection with this. And that righteousness is, again, their identification with him and the issue of them receiving that new name in connection with it. Luke chapter 6. Luke chapter 6 and... we'll start in verse 20. And he lifted up his eyes on his disciples and said, Blessed be ye poor, for yours is the kingdom of God. Blessed are ye that hunger now, for ye shall be filled. Blessed are ye that weep now, for ye shall laugh. Blessed are ye when men shall hate you, and when they shall separate you from their company, and shall reproach you, and cast out your name as evil for the Son of Man's sake. So this is a parallel to what's sitting over there in Matthew, but you have a little expansion there. It gives you a little insight into what that righteousness means. That righteousness which is not only identified with that kingdom of heaven, but their identification with him. And we've said this before, and we'll continue to. He is going to become the main issue, so that the policy of evil that becomes enacted at that time, and is already in development here, is specifically going to be identified as Antichrist, as a spirit of Antichrist. That is because from this point in the program on, the issue is going to be the Son, and his position, and the glory that God the Father has purposed to be in him. He has purposed that all the fullness of the Godhead should dwell in him bodily, and the glory is going to be resident in him, and his fulfillment as the Son of David in the Davidic covenant. So it's for the Son of Man's sake. Rejoice ye in that day, and leap for joy. For behold, your reward is great in heaven, for in the like manner did their fathers unto the prophets. We'll have cause to return to that, but that's going to be, well, you have to have some confidence to be rejoicing and singing during that time. Come over to 1 Peter chapter 4. 1 Peter chapter 4. 1 Peter chapter 4 and verse 7. 1 Peter chapter 4 and verse 7. But the end of all things is at hand. Be ye therefore sober, and watch unto prayer. And above all things have fervent charity among yourselves, for charity shall cover the multitude of sins. Use hospitality one to another without grudging. As every man hath received the gift, even so minister the same one to another, as good stewards of the manifold grace of God. If any man speak, let him speak as the oracles of God. If any man minister, let him do it as of the ability which God giveth, that God in all things may be glorified through Jesus Christ, to whom be praise and dominion forever and ever. Amen. Beloved, think it not strange concerning the fiery trial which is to try you, as though some strange thing happened unto you, but rejoice, inasmuch as ye are partakers of Christ's sufferings, that when his glory shall be revealed, ye may be glad also with exceeding joy. If ye be reproached for the name of Christ, happy are ye, blessed. For the Spirit of glory and of God resteth upon you. On their part he is evil spoken of, but on your part he is glorified. But let none of you suffer as a murderer, or as a thief, or as an evildoer, or as a busybody in other men's matters. I mean, if you get persecuted for that, you deserve it. Good for you. Yet if any man suffer as a Christian, let him not be ashamed, but let him glorify God on this behalf. For the time has come that judgment must begin at the house of God. And if it first begin at us, what shall the end be of them that obey not the gospel of God? And if the righteous scarcely be saved, where shall the ungodly and the sinner appear? Wherefore let them that suffer according to the will of God commit the keeping of their souls to him in well-doing, as unto a faithful Creator. So back to Matthew chapter 5. So that's what they have to look forward to, and that's what he's going to begin to expand on. There's two issues with that, because there's this persecution on the one hand, but then, as he loves setting up these opposite dichotomies here, but they go hand in hand, he's going to say, But blessed are ye when men shall revile you and persecute you, and shall say all manner of evil against you falsely, for my sake. Rejoice, and be exceeding glad, for great is your reward in heaven. For so persecuted they the prophets which were before you. Well, they're going to inherit the earth. The kingdom of heaven is theirs. Why are they laying up treasure in heaven? We'll find out next time.